All right, welcome back to UBV News. We are here today to discuss the status with Target and the value of the company. Over the last few weeks, their stock has been plummeting, and the root cause of this is from the whole anti-DEI push that was put in once the federal government lifted the bill that was ultimately put in place to be able to input diversity, equity, inclusion. A lot of companies, Target being the forefront of it, basically said that they're going to remove their DEI policies. And ultimately, our people have spoken by taking our money elsewhere, and it has ultimately led to the drop in their value of their company. What is your guys' whole thought process as far as this situation with, how our dollar has affected the value of one of the biggest companies in this country?
Yeah, Target. Me, hey, where the bullseye, right? That's the bullseye. Hey, we hit it right there. So I think it says something about us. No pun intended, but we hit the target. When we put a target on somebody's back, black folks, man, we when we put a target on your back, it's going down. So I think personally, I love the fact that we are uniting around us a common cause. Like I think, and it's just my personal opinion, businesses they are very conservative. They trying to make money, but I'm not here from the business side. I want to talk about from the black people side. We ain't got no friends like that. We ain't got no friends in the political space, in the business space. We don't have any friends. So I think the best thing we need to do is stick together, come together, and unite our dollar and our political vote as well. And so we can build our own communities. So you're starting to see this already. And I think it's just a good case study because true story. um, I was just thinking about this the other day, and I had an opportunity to go to a store. I could have went to Target to get some stuff from the store, or I could have went to another store down the street. And I literally went all the way around to go to the other side to this other store just so I can avoid Target. Now, before this whole DI stuff, I will go to Target because I love Target. They got some good things that I love, but I'm standing on business on this just because they standing on business and what they did, and I feel like I can do the same thing with my holding back my dollar. So that's how I feel about the Target thing.
Yeah, I mean, I say this too. I like Richard Wolff a lot. I love stuff he talks about. I'm a student of history, especially Black history in the 20th century, especially specifically the civil rights movement. Now, I'll say these kind of like this kind of thing with Tark. I think is good, but I think what's missing. It's the same thing I was felt with Black Lives Matter at the end of the day. I think when people think about the civil rights movement, they think about the boycotts, they think about that, right? But they tend to not understand how deep the political push an organization was in terms of the other things. Like these big, massive kind of like protests were also met by legal legislation on the back end. And I think what's happened since the 80s is that businesses have done a good job, Republicans have done a great job. Let's say just conservatives, extreme conservatives have done a great job of packing the courts. It's a whole thing about how they started packing the courts in the 80s with federal judges and stuff like that. You saw that happen with Trump, how they packed the federal judges, the Supreme Court, things like that. So it's hard to even get things passed the same way it would have even in the civil rights movement. So I think what I'm trying to say, I think these things are good in the short term. Like, yeah, it feels good, but without any kind of strong, challenge to the legal process or the on the state or federal level, I think all you're going to end up doing is that it's going to be a short term win, but you're going to get gutted in the long term. And I think,
Yeah,
the reason I say is like, yeah, okay, they say, okay, cool, then they're like, okay, cool. And then like it, maybe over the long haul, what I'm saying? It's just Target says, okay, cool, we need to branch off to other communities and things like that. I'm not saying you don't do it. I'm saying the absence of any kind of other movement or bigger agenda associated with it, it's almost like, it's almost pointless in the long run.
I say
Well,
you
I
got to
mean,
start from somewhere. My bad, Leon. I just want to say this. I think you got to start from somewhere, and I think this is a good case study for us to start and say, you know what? We stood on business. We all said that we were going to boycott this place because of a very specific thing, and we got a very specific outcome. Target stock has been continuing to plummet month after month after month after month, and I think that's a good thing. And I think it's good for us to go ahead and continue to apply pressure on them to say we mean business and we're going to stand on business, and this is a good case study for us to kind of build from there.
Absolutely. And in the words of the great American poet, Mr. C. Murder, money talks, bullshit walks, haters get dealt with, and haters get their ass kicked. Ultimately, that's what happened with the situation. They listen to our money. They won't necessarily hear our voices, but they will hear our money. And I think, and I'm so proud of our community for coming together and sticking with this situation and putting Target's feet to the fire. It shows you the power of the dollar in our communities. We have to leverage this. These companies that don't respect us and or don't live and or show any type of allegiance to our communities, we have to hold them accountable, and we do that by taking our money elsewhere. And I get what you're saying, Matt, when you're saying, this is starting off and potentially, down the line we may fall off. I was thinking that this was something that was gonna last for a couple weeks and just be gone. People have steadfast to this. And I'm very glad that they have, because a lot of times when it comes to social media, we get caught up in what's going on in the current news, and a couple weeks later, then we push it to the forefront. That has not happened this time. We stood fast to what we believe in, and we're standing on business, and we got to keep doing this. As long as we continue to keep doing this and standing on it and not letting it be just a fly by night social media topic, we're going to be able to get some things done in our community, because ultimately money is power, and they will listen to our dollar 100%.
Yeah, and I think the overall thing for me is that, like, okay, you do it. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think that with the lack of any bigger agenda, it's just hard to execute on it. So what I mean by that is, like, you get two, conflicting things. Obviously Target's going behind on DEI, right? They're cutting at DEI. Oh my, we're gonna boycott Target, right? But on the flip side, people say, oh, I don't feel like doing DEI. It didn't even benefit us anyway. So you decided you're not even going to fight for DEI on the legislation side. You say fuck it. You know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna fight for it here at Target. Because you see what I'm saying? It's like, oh, I don't want to, because we don't even benefit from it on a bigger scale, but I'm gonna fight it here at Target. It just doesn't, when you have that type of back and forth, you're fighting the small battles, but getting your ass whooped, you know what I'm saying, in the bigger battles. And I think that it takes a coordination. It's like, that's why I always like the civil rights movement. Like, people think, Rosa Parks got up there that morning. No, she was handpicked to go and do that. The whole goal was to actually, obviously, that was the goal, cripple the buses, to make cripple the buses, to have the laws change. And then they worked those different cases up to, federal courts, up to the Supreme Court. That was their whole thing. The whole thing was to challenge that stuff locally and move it up to Supreme Court to change the Supreme Court. So I'm just saying, I think that what happens is when people do these movements, they think that they're doing what the civil rights movement did without understanding all the components that made the civil rights movement what it is. So I think what happens is that you get this victory with Target, and then, yeah, they may increase their DI in the short term. Trust me, yeah, that can happen. But I think people are doing this thinking that they're mimicking or tapping into the spirit of the civil rights movement of the '60s without understanding everything that it took to make that happen. So that's just my point.
And I agree with
Well,
that, Matt. And kind of going back, to what Ari said, it's about taking some baby steps. Is this whole situation with Target going to change the whole realm of, racism and or the black experience in this country? Not 100%, absolutely not. But it is a step in the right progress when we're letting people see that the actions that they're taking, with where they're spending their money and the effect that it can have. The goal should be to hopefully open up people's eyes and say, hey, damn, I have more power than what I actually think, particularly where I go choose to spend my dollars. And like I said, this isn't going to end racism in America by us not shopping at Target, but it
Mhm.
can be the start of us putting the foundation of something special that can hopefully lead to other aspects, that address up things going on in our community down the line. And that's hopefully the goal, as long as our people take heed to that. But like Ivory said, we got to start somewhere. We got to put a brick here on this foundation, then we put another brick here until we ultimately get a foundation and build a house. And I think we have the opportunity to have coming, as long as we take heed to what's going on with the actions that we're taking with Target.
yeah, let me add one more thing to that. Imagine if we did that with our votes. Man, I tell you what, imagine if we all came together as Black people. I don't care if you're Republican, you're Democrat, gay, straight, whatever the case may be, progressive, conservative, it does not matter. One color, that's Black, right? We all together, we all on the same page, and we came together and we put our vote together and we united our vote. Man, you talk about an unstoppable force in this country. Man, we're going to see the things change like the likes we've never seen before, because people know already, they know about our spending power. We have about $1.5 trillion in spending power. If you use it right, then it could be used in for better ways. But let's talk about political power. That's the thing. The sleeping giant in this country is Black votes, Black people. And that's what this whole channel was about. It's about uniting the Black voter together for a common cause. It's our cause, our issues. Because for too long, we've been just sitting here playing patty cakes with political parties and not really doing the due diligence of really doing the politics that's required to change the things we need to change in this country. So we have a survey. Yes, we do. We have a survey. Go to blackagenda2028.com. We need your input. It's a quick survey. It takes about 30 seconds to fill out the survey, okay? Fill out the survey, and it's going to help us to understand what your needs are so we can take that to the politicians and hold them accountable to our votes. You want us to vote for you? Hey, something for something. Quid quo pro, right? That's how we go. So take the survey.
Yes. Email address is at the bottom, please. We need your feedback from our community because it's very important. As you can see, your vote and your voice matters. So let's make sure we get that agenda taken care of by you guys expressing what's most important to you.
And take care, everybody.